Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Rambling Through Everyday Life with Fran and Angela. My name is Fran, and I am one of the co-hosts for this podcast. All right, you guys, here's just a few things that we start rambling about right off the bat, and I wish that we would have dug a little deeper because it's so good. Are you ready? Number 1, do we need chore charts for grownups? Number 2, do I even know who I am outside of being a wife, mom, daughter, friend, worker? And then finally, what low-level goals do you have for 2025? We love you guys so much. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show. Okay, here we are, everybody. It's still 2025. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
That was a fun first podcast.
Now we're going to transition a little from all the crazy.
We are
into more of the crazy.
Okay.
Because y'all,
are we gonna talk about things that we talk about in the new year? Your word of the year. Do you have a word of the year yet? You better.
We're going to talk about.
It's middle of January.
We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, can we talk about? Sometimes I just need to make this my confessional safe space.
That's totally good.
We would have failed.
What would a priest say to you right now?
Jeez. Yeah. My priest is Jesus. Just like Fran's word is Jesus. I feel like it's less often now that we've put so much of our realness out there for y'all to hear. But sometimes people come up to us and they're like, well, I just thought you had it all together. Or I didn't realize you struggle. Or any of those things that make us cringe, laugh, and roll our eyes. Because no, my friends, we don't have it all together. But we're on this beautiful journey with Jesus, trying to figure some things out. But it's always interesting to me how I've walked with Jesus a long time. I call myself a Christ follower. I believe with all my heart that I am. But on days like yesterday,
however,
I can be on a spiritual mountaintop, have a great service in church, and then be so irked. I'm not going to use the word I used yesterday because it's not appropriate.
Angry.
That's a good word too. Just irritated with people in my immediate circle that I love with all my heart.
AKA family.
How can the people that we hold most dear be the people that make us want to just slam doors and say ugly words? And
did you do those things? Did you slam doors and say ugly words?
I didn't slam a door. I did say ugly words.
Are you going to tell us what happened?
Well, I would love to tell you that I know what happened. I think
you were just mad.
I think perimenopause is to blame. I think there's some hormonal things that. Okay, let me back up.
You were set off. Church was so good yesterday
Church was so good yesterday, and I also listened to ACC online yesterday, so I got my good double dose.
Yep.
Let this just remind us all that we can do all the right things and be madly in love with Jesus. And while we are not sanctified yet and we're still fleshy, there is a both and. You can be very much.
Sure. We're human.
On your, dude, I have my quiet time. I got my exercise. I had my happy juice. There's no reason other than I'm still trying to figure some things out. Also,
are you going to tell us what happened?
I was frustrated. Okay, here's what happens.
I'm trying
to figure out the best way to say, because
okay, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Let me
boys are involved.
Okay. Well, okay. So we have 2. I'm not sure if it's a younger one or an older one.
It was both.
And sometimes that age doesn't matter.
Was both.
Did they say or do something?
They did not
didn't say or do something.
They did not meet my expectations.
Okay.
That I'm not always right in my expectations.
Okay.
Nor do I always communicate well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really bad about just letting things go. And then when they've gone for long enough, I start getting resentful. And then I'm like, why are you not doing your part in this category? And I'm very well aware, I don't kill spiders. I don't deal with things outside in the yard. Like there's a lot of things that I won't do. So at the same time, I probably should be like, well, in return for that, you don't have to do X, Y, Z.
Right.
But unless we're going to have a chore chart and lay out clear expectations.
Maybe we need to do that.
I think we might.
In 2025, y'all, for the grownups.
But meanwhile, and part of this is, when you have company coming over, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, this might be okay for our low standards.
Right.
However, this is not normal behavior for people. Let's clean it up a little bit.
Right.
So I was just irritated.
Okay. And did you verbally let them have it?
Yeah. Then I decided
Do you sound like a lawyer when you get mad like that?
Oh, yeah.
You're presenting a case? Or
it's not that logical.
Okay. It's just
it's more like a Tasmanian devil with a lawyer background.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just spun myself straight out of the door. So then I decided that part of this is I have to have self-care that includes hobbies. We know it's not crochet and we know it's not sourdough starters, but I have to have something for me that does not involve my work life and does not involve being a wife or a mom.
Right.
Part of this is I don't exactly know who I am and what I enjoy.
Yeah. Well, a lot of us can resonate with that because our identity and our self-worth is wrapped up in those things that we're trying to separate ourselves out from.
Yes.
And go, who am I outside of those things?
Yes.
$1 million question.
Yes. And January is like the perfect time for us to have this conversation together because a lot of us, hopefully.
Together, meaning me and you, we're going to have this together.
And all these people
and all
listening,
the people that listen.
Somebody tell me I'm not alone.
Oh, y'all, get ready because maybe that could be a thing of every episode. What are you struggling with today?
Yes.
You know, like it just becomes a little bit of a confessional. And
or a lot of a confessional.
And a little bit of you're not alone. And then we can speak the right things.
We listen and we don't judge.
We listen and we don't judge.
Or judge. I don't even care. I'm just going to put it out there.
Right.
Okay. So one of my low-level goals for myself is how about instead of trying clothes on and throwing them on the chair, we put them on a hanger and hang them up in the closet, and then we're not overwhelmed by the clutter at the end of the day.
That's right.
So part of it is like, hey, I need to just take a little bit of time and do those kind of things. But at the same time, like yesterday, here's what I did and got less irritated by the time I got home. Now, I did still make a phone call to the boys in my household to remind them why I was still irritated and had every right to be. It was not well received and it was not well spoken.
Right.
I made it worse. I threw gasoline on a fire.
Because you know what? I'm not done yet, people.
I had no humility yesterday. I'm just going to tell y'all that. I was a little bit right and a lot wrong yesterday, and I'm not proud of it, but I'm just being honest.
What do we do, though, instead? Do we go outside and scream and say all these things to the Lord?
Let me tell you what I did instead, okay? I was mad in the moment, slamming things.
I love it.
I didn't slam a door, but I slammed some things, and I chipped a fingernail. But guess what? I was even more mad. So I thought, well, now I've got to go sit for 2 hours and get my nails done somewhere. But I thought, I'm here. I'm going to enjoy it. They're probably talking about me, and that's fine. And their language I don't understand, but I'm going to relax. I'm going to listen to the little water fountain and the music and get my nails done.
Yes.
So I got my nails done. And then I went to Target and spent money on dumb
Who cares?
things.
Yes.
Not a lot of dumb things, just enough to get the endorphins.
Yes.
I did find Susie, if Susie's listening, I found some really cute boots, like ankle boots at Target.
They weren't like sequiny looking, were they? Because I've seen those, which are little.
I did see those. They are not my style. But I'm at the age where if they're cute, they're practical, and they're comfortable, I'm going to buy them in every color. I got light brown, dark brown, and black.
Oh,
that was my spending. But I'll use those because my feet get cold, and that is my shoe of choice until springtime.
Right.
So I bought 3 pair of boots. I got my nails done. Went to Kroger to pick up a couple of things for an easy dinner.
Yeah.
And as I was leaving Kroger, I was hungry and I needed a snack. And I walked right by the rotisserie chicken.
Oh, stop it right now.
I put that rotisserie chicken in my cart.
Yes,
I get to my car. It is 4:55 and my stomach is growling.
Ate it up.
I stay in that parking spot. Little grandma next to me did a double take because I'm tearing into some chicken.
It is so good, y'all.
Barbarian style.
It is so good.
Kaylee is with me. She's
mortified.
No, she asked for a chicken leg.
Oh, as she should.
She jumped right in. So Kaylee was with me to get my nails done, to do the Target extravaganza, and to eat some chicken.
We gotta have some support, people.
And Kaylee said, "Mom, I can tell that this has helped your day." And there's a lot to be said for some manicures, some spending, and some chicken. So,
yay for you.
Let me just recommend that to y'all. And then I did try to be a little more mature and use my words. And there were some action steps taken by myself and the others involved in a healthy, positive direction. And we all love each other very much. But we are very headstrong, stubborn, fleshy human people. And sometimes our house is just
Listen, we're not going to talk about this, but I'm just going to make reference because I don't want to talk about it, but I'm going to make reference to something that I know you appreciate this because it's so sweet and such a gift. But it's funny how when you have a different life, you hear things differently because I don't have a daughter. And so what a gift to be able to drag Kaylee into that mess and let her see you do that and wrestle that out because I don't have that. And so I'm always doing that on my own. And I just think, man, what a great experience for her to just see you wrestle that out as a human being. And like, it's okay. It is going to be okay. But dang alive, I've got to get this out. And this is how I'm going to cope. Now, the closest thing I have is Tyler's Emma. And I don't do that with her, but she is my sushi girl. And she and I went and had sushi over the break a few weeks ago. And I was so happy. I was like, yay, I have a young girl that will go eat sushi with me. I can't imagine. I literally cannot. I have no idea what that's like to be able to do that and drag your daughter along in a beautiful way. I love that.
You're going to be the best mother-in-law that ever mother-in-lawed.
Well, I'm very, like if you are an all-boy mom and maybe you didn't have a sister growing up either, it's just interesting how you hear people tell stories and what they're doing and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
And it's so interesting to try to model. Like, I'm very well aware that that's her father and her brother that I'm irritated with. And the irritation I have is because I didn't communicate well leading up to it. And then it just built up and it blew up. But Kaylee's 22 and she has good perspective. And I was like, listen, Kaylee, I said, this is where I'm clearly wrong. However, in happy marriages, you will have conflict. And in like all relationships, you're going to bump up against each other. And you still love each other and you work it out. But anyway, yeah, it was all just a thing. But it also just had me thinking about going into a new year. Like, how do I need to take better care of myself? In addition to, I need to drink water. I need to take vitamins. Like, what in my life needs to be there to occupy my time. Right. So I'm not losing my mind when, people are in separate corners of the house and not in one room spending time together. Maybe I need to pick up a book and find something else for me to do and not just get irritated. Yeah. And expectations. We put expectations on things that we shouldn't. Right. But anyway.
Well, remember that one class that you take in college that's like in some communications basic level, not speech, but I'm sure there's just some class. Listen, we need 4 years. Actually, it needs to start in high school. Actually, it needs to start in middle school.
How to be in a relationship.
Just communication skills of when things are hard and like recognizing your own response and, well, okay, I'm angry. So then what do I do? Like there needs to be a full-blown middle, high school. And if you go to college, there needs to be so much more to help you, to equip you with just navigating life.
Well, like the Jenny Allen, am I okay or not okay?
Yeah, well,
okay, if I'm not okay, what am I feeling? Like just 101 stuff.
But if you're not lucky enough to find your way into those people, into those books, we all just there needs to be more on the educational side, maybe.
There does.
Says the non-educator.
Oh, no, that's very wise. Very wise. Okay, you shared something with me about a month ago that I've not stopped thinking about. Our pastor, Eugene, had a conversation with someone that we know, and the conversation was something, I'm going to butcher this up, but something along the lines of...
Are we identifying who this person is?
No.
Okay.
But Eugene, our pastor, was expressing to them to be on the lookout for, am I experiencing anxiety or is this conviction in my life? And I have struggled a lot in my past with anxiety, with panic attacks, with those kind of things. You have not, right?
Right.
I mean, moments of anxiousness.
Yeah, I don't live in that space. Right.
So to look at this from across the spectrum, but we were having a conversation about anxiety. And in the midst of that, Eugene gave some advice of, sometimes it's not anxiety. Sometimes it's...
Can you separate and identify, is this conviction that you're feeling?
Yes.
Or are you just anxious about it?
I've not stopped thinking about that.
It was an interesting question. And I'll say this, like this person is a young person, a young adult trying to navigate a lot of things that you navigate post-college world. You're trying to figure out all of a sudden, who am I and what am I doing and what is important to me and how do I seek those things out? And you feel like you've got a timetable set up for certain things, and you just all of a sudden feel confused. And that is the most common thing for a young person to experience and try to navigate when they're graduated from college. And so the fact that this person sought out our pastor that they don't really have a relationship with, but they listen to.
That's a scary, hard thing for a young adult. Intimidating.
Yes, it could be very intimidating because you only relationship you have is pretty one-sided because you just show up and listen to them give a message every week. So you feel like you know them. So reach out. They have this conversation, and a good conversation full of questions that I wish I could have been a fly on a wall, and I wish that more of that was given back to me at the time when they were telling me about it. But yeah, just the question of, because it resonated with you being an anxious person, is this conviction that you're feeling, or is this producing anxiety in you? And those two can kind of get muddled up together a little bit, but I just thought it was a very interesting question.
And in my mind, it all goes back to, I have to be able to have space to consider what I'm feeling.
That's right.
I can't have space to consider what I'm feeling if I'm running around all day, daylight to dark.
Right.
Or when I'm not running around, I'm scrolling through my phone.
Right. We're not even thinking about what we're thinking about. Jenny Allen has told us that 1,000 times.
Right.
Think about what you're thinking about. And that's essentially what you're saying.
It starts with a thought. So I really think a new year, new month of the year, it's just such a good time to go, okay, hang on, let's remember some things to set us up for just having a peaceful, which, okay, I just said.
Hang on. I got to say something though.
Yep.
So yesterday in Eugene's sermon, I so appreciated this because I was like, oh, dang, you're exactly right. You know how you and I love to ask the question or talk about and consider, who are you becoming?
Yes.
He started off with, who are you right now? Not just who are you becoming, but who are you right now? Are you walking with the Lord? How do you know? What are the identifying markers of your relationship with the Lord? And he started off with, like, who are you right now? Are you able to recognize and understand and speak out loud who you are? Let's not live out there and like, who am I trying to become? Do you even know who you are right now? And I think that's a great place to start in the first of the year is baseline. Like, write those things down. I need to do that because that was very, that hit me yesterday because I too, I don't want to live in that space of how I feel or who I am. Like, I'd much rather live off there, like pointing towards the future 6, 9, 12 months from now, because that's glorious.
The cleaned up, wonderful version.
Yeah, that's the lovely version. But to sit in the space of who am I right now, like, I don't know that I want to do that.
And I've not thought about what's about to come out of my mouth. So this is probably going to sound jumbled up. But this past few months, I've had this weird, I don't know if heaviness is the right word, but it's almost an awareness of and I don't even know if it's my age, but more like the shift into, and season of life just sounds so weird, but I don't know.
It's age.
I don't know how it's aging and just recognizing, I can't use this profile picture from the 90s. I don't look like her anymore. You see those people and their profile picture is them 40 years ago.
Right.
But it's I'm not sad about, I enjoy the season I'm in with my kids and with life and with what we're doing. But you're also looking back, letting go, going, okay, this is not who I am anymore. I'm moving into. So having said all that, I know there's plenty of my life that I was not living aware. It was just kind of numbed out, getting through it. I don't want to miss. And maybe that's like the back half of your life. You wake up and look around and go, I don't want to miss anything. Right. But I don't want to miss what God's doing. And I don't want to just hold myself to, oh, these are all the things I want to become and then feel bad about it. I've got to recognize where I am right now and go, okay, and these are not just call out, I need to change this. I need to change this. But I've started, like when we talk, calling out, hey, I'm proud of us for this. Right. Or this is something good that we're doing. There's plenty of things that we say, well, I need to do, but I need to drink more water. I need to whatever. Right. But I will also, I didn't talk about this and I've got them on. Kaylee Snyder rocked it out with my stocking this year. You know, this is the biggest transition.
We were just in something so meaningful and deep. And I'm like,
I don't want to be too serious.
I feel like I had a thought or two, but now we're going to talk about the dang shirt you've got on.
Just real quick, because remember I said on the podcast, don't let me have excuses. If it's over 40 degrees, I've got to go outside and have recess like the little children at school. I call these marshmallow leggings. I don't know what they are, and a shirt. It feels like marshmallows inside. Kaylee got me a warm shirt.
Anybody know what a marshmallow feel like inside?
I don't either. She also got me a hood that I call my alpaca hat.
A hood?
If I was an alpaca, it's like a detached hood that I look like a Unabomber.
You mean a hat?
A hat that goes over your face. Like a hood on a jacket, but yes. Kenny on South Park, like only your little face is visible.
Well, no excuses now,
Mama. Excuses. I have gloves, I have leggings, but all that to say, making myself go outside the last 5 days. I got this Walk Fit app that literally gives me stars and praise for walking it's a low level, like walk 3,000 steps. Yeah. Forget 10,000.
But you know what? Some people, like some days, some weeks, because of your job and what you're doing, that's all you can get in. And I think that's interesting because I think that we can also get hung up in, well, I didn't get my 10,000 steps in, I failed.
And then I'll go a whole week and do nothing.
That's right.
There was a lady on
all messed up.
It's so bad. There was this lady on TikTok and she said every hour, stand up at your desk and do 10, she called them air squats because you're not holding weights to do squats. But she said do 10 squats. And it's over the day, it's the equivalent of, I don't know, something.
How about amazing. Just move? Just move your
march
body.
March in place. Just do anything. Do some calisthenics.
At first, I thought you were going to say, she says to stand up and do 10 jumping jacks. And I was like, oh, heck to the no.
Or just dance it out.
Yeah.
Just dance to the music. Remember Ally McBeal? Just dance to the music in your mind.
Absolutely.
Oh, goodness. We're all over the place.
I think that there's something so beautiful about the beginning of a year. It's impossible to act like, well, I'm not going to consider who I am and who I want to become and what changes. How do you want to grow? I think that's very, very healthy. And there's just something very natural about it. I think just as you age, you are considering it on a much deeper level than I need to drink more water. And that's what you're saying.
It is.
And it's an interesting perspective that we have. I do believe that because of the society that we live in right now, as females, we are up against anti-aging in a horrible way. And I am of the mindset, but I wrestle with it every single day, but with age comes such wisdom. And I don't want you to think for a minute that I'm 30 years old. I want you to know that out of these 54, nearly 55 years, there has been a lot of life lived. And I do have some wisdom and some perspective to offer you. And that's a beautiful thing. So it's that tension of what's behind me and what's ahead of me when the world is screaming at you that you're supposed to look a certain way. It's the age-old problem for females. And I just honestly just want to say, you all need to get it together because you're doing yourself a disservice if you think that you can avoid aging. It's the Lord has given us so many years and we don't know what that number is, but dang alive, let's embrace it and not walk around trying to look like and act like we're 30. No. And if I've made you mad about that, I'm sorry, but I'm not.
We're not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
No.
Listen and don't judge.
Yes. Embrace it.
Yes. Well, and going back to before I took us.
Now, will I quit coloring my hair? No.
No. Yeah. That. Yeah. Me
Have
too.
I ever had any kind of Botox or anything? I have not, but I'm so tempted all the time because I think as females, we struggle with that outer appearance. It's such a weird line of, I want you to love me and the wisdom that I have, but still we struggle with that appearance. Guys don't struggle with,
They don't care.
What men are lining up to go get Botox?
Well, probably a few.
Probably a few, but it's just like, dang it all.
It's so silly.
It
and what's
is.
the end game?
What is the end game?
What is the end game?
You're going to get to heaven and the Lord is going to go, dang, look at you. I guess you don't need that new body. I guess you don't because you've already done it here.
You've petrified yourself.
Okay, I'm worked up. Change the subject.
Well, this is why.
I'm worked up because I struggle with it.
Well, and I see 20-year-olds getting Botox to get ahead of it. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? What are you doing?
They don't know. They don't know yet.
I didn't even wash my face at that age.
Exactly.
Just start there.
But when you've got the whole society giving you videos of 10-year-olds with a skincare routine, no.
Well, as I was getting my manicure,
if this isn't messed up, I don't know what is.
The screen above me, it was the most random thing. It had the Weather Channel, but it was set to Birmingham, Alabama, and we're in Jackson, Tennessee.
Well, but
Kaylee lives in Birmingham, so it caught my attention. So I knew the airlines were not delayed, and I knew what their air quality was. But then it popped up and just did. They can only talk about weather on a pretty day for so long and not run out of content.
Right.
So then this lady pops on. And she's talking about resolutions for the new year, which we think are dumb and we don't do resolutions. And she told us why. Now, we're all about great habits and we're all about rhythms. Disciplines. But resolutions, this stood out to me. Y'all ready for this? 80% of resolutions fail by January 31st.
So why start it?
80%.
Why even? Yeah.
You have one shot for a couple of weeks and become immediately discouraged when you fail if you have a resolution. But with a rhythm or a habit or a discipline, you get a chance every day to just reset. And
There's some great quote, and I'm about to mess it up. I need to find it.
Just give us the paraphrase.
Yeah, here's some kind of messed up version of it. Show me your life, and I'm essentially seeing your habits and disciplines.
Yes.
I've
heard that before.
Well, it's something like that. But, just you've got to create these patterns. You have to create the disciplines. You have to create your habits. Your habits are going to show me the type of life. Whatever I see out of your life, I've essentially seen the habits that you've made.
That's good.
And so, anyway.
I'm trying to find something now that I found yesterday, and I meant to go back and look it up, and I can't find it.
If y'all have any lovely, insight, wisdom, good questions to ask, consider yourself. I know that this is releasing the middle of January, but you know what? This is ongoing conversation. This conversation is just as important to have in June, October, anytime, because I feel like you always need to be evaluating who you are in the moment. Remember, we've said that, who you are right now as you're considering who you become.
Yes. I can't find it now, but there's that 75 hard challenge that's something we'll never do.
Oh, yeah. I've heard people talk about I ain't ever doing that.
But there's one that's 75. I thought it was 75 good. It's something similar to that, but it's it's a gentle way to take care of yourself and making sure you're reading the Bible every day and making sure you're, just whatever these things are. But
can we talk about something really quick?
Yes.
Speaking of making sure that you're reading the Bible every day, by the time this airs, I am going to try really hard. I've never been successful at it, reading the Bible in a year. I give out. I quit. I want to do my own thing. I don't know what this, and I just, oh man, I want to be able to say at the end of 2025 that I've done that. Are we going to create some group here? Heavens no. In a perfect world, I'd love to be able to say that, but I think that's putting the cart before the horse. Like, we're not ready for that. But
we will encourage you along the way as we parallel journey through the Bible with you.
Yes. So I'm going to try really, really hard. It's so hard.
It is hard, but it's such a good...
It's a discipline. And I'm in the Word every day. I'm just not in the chronological, terribly cobble, the Bible recap. I'm just not doing that every day. Because sometimes I'm just like, well, forget it. I want to go read what Jesus has to say in the Gospel of John. Leave me alone.
And that's fine.
That's fine.
It's all your one word is Jesus. It's all the right answer. We're going to talk about my word in a minute. But
if I had to guess your one word, I couldn't even begin.
Guess.
No, I couldn't. I have no idea what that would be.
Funny. Well, in the Bible app, daily reading this morning, and you may have seen it, but he was asking, who do I want to be a year from now and how do I want to grow? And they were pointing people to those Bible reading plans in the app. Yeah. And one thing, I love what you taught me to just start my day with the daily verse and the devotion and the short video. That's how I start my day, and I journal that. But then I do enjoy the Bible recap. I've left it and come back to it several times and done it all the way through a couple of times. Got behind, had to catch up, struggle mentally with, am I doing this well? Which is so dumb.
And that's the other part of it, that you just go, well, I'm already behind, and now I've got to go back and read all this. And you're like, but why am I acting like that's such a chore?
Right.
And painful.
And why do I act like if I'm not sitting first thing in the morning with my Bible in my lap, that it doesn't count? So someday, the scriptures were recited and read to the people years ago.
Right.
It's not wrong to listen to it in the car or while you're brushing your teeth or out for a walk. So I've just had to remind myself, hey, have your time with the Lord, start your day, but it shouldn't be, I feel like I failed, or I brushed through it and did not retain one word, but I got my check mark.
Right. See, and I'm not an achiever by nature. Like, what, you're a 1? 3. I see. I get them both confused.
They're all head cases.
Yeah, you are.
Pray for us.
So I'm not that. I'm not like the striver of, I've got to meet that. I'm not that.
How does it feel for you? Because I don't know any other way.
Well, I just I look at that and I just go, well, forget it. Like, it doesn't bother me.
It's passed by.
I just can move on pretty quickly, but then I get caught up in I should
finish it.
But I should. And why am I not? Because I have the time, and I feel guilty for listening to it in my car if I'm not able to process it, because I do want to sit and ponder and consider and journal all of those things that I do with the daily verse of the day. And so then I feel like, well, this is stupid.
We need 3 hours in the morning. And start our work day around 11.
How does the world feel about that? Let's do that.
Well, you may have seen this. Beth Moore posted some I think you liked it.
It was so good.
And I think it showed up for me because you put a heart on it.
Yes, please read it.
Can I read this to us?
Yes, y'all. It is so good.
The Godmother has spoken.
Yes.
I mean, this is just so good. Beth Moore posted, this thread is in favor of establishing regular practices of the spiritual disciplines of prayer and scripture reading. Call it old school if you will, but there's really no new school for this. New methods, yes. New approaches, absolutely. We are so blessed to have fabulous discipleship guides. But as we end this year and prepare for the next, I can't think anything is more important in the life of the Jesus follower than contemplating how we want our lives to turn out and asking ourselves if we are on that trajectory. We won't ever get this faith thing down this side of the veil. But we need more than the best natural resources our skills, experience, education, and DNA can supply. We need the power and the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, the stability, direction, and knowledge of regular Bible reading. We need Jesus. There's your one word, Fran. We need Jesus, and those are essentials for discerning what is Jesus and what is not. I write this because I have an insatiable desire to see people know and enjoy Jesus and thrive in him. Maybe this comes with the gift of teaching. Not sure, but I think about it all the time. I want people to make it, and I would have never made it without learning how to walk with Jesus. Okay, old girl's done. I love it when she gives us these big sister
love
pep talks.
it. I do too. And, and Angela, I know we're not Beth Moore, and I know that we're not teachers, per se.
We're encouragers.
We're encouragers. But, let's go back to that aging and that wisdom. We should see ourselves as that.
Yes.
Like, hey, I'm your big sister here. I'm your Aunt Fran. I'm your mother that you didn't have. Let me tell you a thing or two. Let's not be afraid to do that. Let's not be intimidated by the younger generation. Let's just be that person for other people.
So
I love it when she taught me that. We've talked about that 1,000 times about the prayer journal and the discipline of scripture and prayer. But I love that she has also taught me, and I wish there was more conversation about it, this idea of enjoying Jesus. I feel like we look at our relationship with him as these tasks, these things to accomplish, to do. I've got to read. I've got to study. I've got to memorize. I've got to write things down. I've got to have all these disciplines and these habits. Yes. But if you're not enjoying him in the process, then what is it for? And I think that's the part that we don't talk enough about, that maybe we need to be more vocal about. Like, the journey of Jesus is enjoy. You can enjoy it. There's enjoyment there.
Joy for the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. Because I've never been, like, I don't recall language about, like, it's just like, follow Jesus, but there's joy in that. There's such joy in him. And so it's like, if you're a young person trying to figure out, like, well, why should I? Outside of, like, being afraid of going to hell, heaven and hell dialogue, why should I? Why should I follow him? Is it just for tasks and saying that I did X, Y, and Z? No, there's enjoyment there.
Abundant life.
Yes. And so I wish there was more conversation about that. We need to talk about that.
Let's just have more conversation. Yeah. What did we
I don't know. Don't ask me that question.
We just said earlier at the beginning something that, like, we should do this on the podcast. We should talk about struggles.
With confessionals.
In addition to the confessionals, we'll confess where we're finding joy.
Yes.
In
yes.
Jesus
yes.
right
yes.
now.
Yes. And I think that's something that we need to be more mindful of.
A to the man.
Where is Jesus bringing you joy?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
Okay. So, you asked me about my one word.
What is it?
A few weeks ago. And I told you that I had a word that I wanted it to be. And I'd even journaled something about it.
Did the Lord say, that ain't it?
Yes. And I wish I had my new journal, because I jumped the gun and went ahead and wrote something inside my new journal. I do the Prayerful Planner journal. And in the beginning, it actually asks you for your one word and your word of the year and your verse of the year.
Oh, Angela.
And I knew not to do it.
But you did it anyway?
I did it anyway.
Dang.
But I don't feel guilty. I feel humored by this.
Oh, for sure.
Like, this is just funny, because the Lord and I are just in that place where he's like, I done told you and you did it anyway. But okay, so I wish I had it, because I don't even remember now what it was. But I looked back, and I started this in 2016. So, and I know we've talked about my through the last decade, my stroll through the one words. Last year, my word was dependent, because I have been taught to be independent by life circumstances and by education and by career and so many things. And in my spiritual life, that is the worst thing in the world. And my verse last year was Isaiah 26:3. You will keep the mind that is dependent on you in perfect peace, for it is trusting in you. I had no intention to read this verse until a second ago. And I also, just a second ago, had the ultimate confirmation from the Lord, because my word for this coming year is in the verse I just read, and I did not know that until right now. Isn't that wild?
What is the word?
Peace.
Peace.
And when the Lord gave me this word, I could just see myself, like, all sassy with my hip kicked to one side, throwing two peace signs. And I thought, that's my posture going into 2025. Because here's the thing. I get so in my head about so many things, and everything we've talked about in this podcast is part of that. And ultimately, what God wants for me and offers me and is available if I'll get out of my own way is just to live in peace and not be all worked up and wound up and have my nervous system all unregulated all the time.
Right.
Why am I walking out of this peace to go get stirred up over there's a fire I need to put out, there's an emergency here, where's the next crisis? I am exiting the peace that he's given me and stepping out of that to go get worked up. And I'm seeing where I'm in control of that if I choose to be.
Right.
So what is my end game? Do I think when I get to heaven that my enjoyment's going to be I'm all ready to solve all these problems? Like, I need to practice peace now because that's my future.
Right.
Why do I think I have to be in a tizzy all the time?
Make a note to what's the difference, to ask the question, what's the difference in peace and contentment?
Ooh.
Because I feel like those two go together so well. And to be content in whatever circumstances that fire is going on in your family or in your lawyer world. And so how can I have peace? How can I be content in the middle of that fire, trusting the Lord to do what only He can do?
You know, in kindergarten, when they tell you to hold your bubble, you know, you like put your finger up against your mouth and act like you're making a bubble.
Right.
I've just got to hold my peace.
Yeah, I know.
That's going to be that's going to be my thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then the if you're looking for your one word, if you don't know it yet, and again, the point of all this is how it helps me. My one word is the reminder I need going into the new year when I think about who do I want to become in this new year. So like I said, last year it was dependent. This year it's going to be peace. When I started all this in 2016, my word was abide. And that
seems like such a long time ago.
Because you remember that.
Yeah.
And this morning, and I've got something we can close with in a minute, but this morning was all of abiding. And it was just the sweetest little moment with the Lord of
8 years later.
Like a growth chart, a spiritual growth chart of, hey, don't be, because I can get real hard on myself, which is the opposite of what you just reminded me I need to do and find the joy in it. Hold Fast is coming up. We need to remind people about that. It's January the
20-something.
The
end of the month, coming up very soon.
It's going to be so great. Susie Oliver, Woe Susanna, Fran and Angela, New Bern First Baptist Church. There'll be worship. Yeah. It's going to be such a sweet time to be physically in the same space with you ladies and just share some of these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't the Lord so good?
Isn't He so good? And your one word is Jesus.
And my one word is Jesus, because it causes me stress to pick out a word. And I feel like I get stuck in a word and I don't want to feel stuck. It's so bizarre, like to be the polar opposite of, there's times when I want that direction, that reminder, that guidance, maybe that time to recenter back to, who am I and who am I trying to become?
But Jesus is all of those things.
But Jesus is all of those things.
You've overachieved at this.
Well,
in your one word.
I think that if you get overwhelmed or feel trapped by a word, it's okay to not do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I only do this because it helps me.
Right.
It gives me structure because my brain gets wonky.
Yeah. And isn't it funny that it gives me anxiety?
We're so opposite.
We are very different in a lot of ways. We've talked about that, that we want to kind of do, maybe we'll do an episode around how different we are. And that's a good thing. I love learning from and watching people that are very different. God, man, in a perfect world, I'd love to have somebody that is a different faith than us be on the show. I love learning, reading, surrounding myself around people that are very different from me, because you need that perspective.
You know what we've talked about, we've never done, but we need to do that this year. We need to do the job swap where you spend a day with me in court and I spend a day.
I know.
Because I love this campus. I have no idea what your everyday looks like here.
It'd be so fun.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I know. One day.
That'll be on our bucket list.
Listen,
not a resolution.
No, just something fun to do.
A list of fun goals and things. Okay. Anything else? And then this was so good this morning. I thought this would be a great place to land because making it about me for a minute, we're throwing it back to 2016 and the word abide.
Anytime I read that verse, anytime I hear the word, I think because that was the beginning of this with us, not the podcast, but just this word of the year.
And our everyday friendship really took off that year.
Yeah,
you
probably
were in the heart of whimsy, literally. Okay, so the whole, the verse, we'll just start with the verse. Abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. And that is John 15, verses 4 and 5. And what I loved in the devotion is it's talking about how he is the source and we have to abide in him and live in him and stay connected. But practically, how do we do this? And in the video, she talked about the trellis and how branches stay connected, especially in storms, by having a trellis for support. It's the structure that holds them up to help them receive from the vine and to flourish to their full potential. Otherwise, we feel weighed down. We might carry guilt or shame or fear or expectations of others. And we need structure and plan to find real rest. And that structure is Jesus. That structure is our time with him. That structure is having people around us who are like-minded to point us back to Jesus. So
all the people said,
there's your one word.
Amen, everybody. Okay, we sure do love y'all. We love you so much. Angela, does the next episode involve our shenanigans and our trip?
The next episode will involve our shenanigans a little bit.
But we haven't had it yet.
Dang. So in our next episode, you're going to find out what we're doing and hear about some anticipated crazy. And then it'll be like what the Pinterest looked like and what it actually was. Like we're going to tell you what we think it's going to be. And then it's going to be, here's what really happened.
I can't wait.
Hold Fast will be the next. So our trip is the week before the women's conference. So we've got a lot of things to talk about.
So much to cover in the next couple of episodes. All right. You guys have a fantastic week. We love you so much. Have a great day. Thanks for listening, everybody. Remember, Proverbs 16:24 says, kind words are like honey. They are sweet to the soul and healthy for the body. This is a good reminder for us all, you guys. Let's speak kindly this week. Okay, we love you. We'll see you next time.